So now we'll move into talking about some international measures. I will be speaking about what we've been doing in Australia. Then we have Dr. Marco Mattaini to talk about what the work that UNIDO has been doing, and also the IPEAK and the Energy Management Working Group. Then the case of Japan from Mr. Tetsuya Maika, who will be talking about the Japanese experience. And Ms. Zhao Ming wasn't able to come here today, but she has prepared some slides and some audio that you can listen to later. All of the presentations will be available on the website, and we will have limited time to discuss them with you in this forum, but as speakers we will be at the front of this venue, so you can discuss with us some of the points that we raise. Now let me just start talking about the Australian perspective for a moment. So I'll bring up the slides if I may. But we bring up the slides for the Australian case, which, thank you very much. And I want to put this into context. Of course there is much to talk about, but I will just pick up on some key points. And I think the point that I will be coming back to was one in particular made by Mr. Kovalchuk about the importance of raising awareness, of explaining the benefits to stakeholders. Because when we look at the companies who are doing energy management well, who are successful, we see that they don't only deliver energy savings, they don't only save on costs of energy, but they deliver other benefits, improving their operating processes, productivity, safety. There are many other benefits which makes it important to focus on energy efficiency. So in my presentation today, I'll quickly give you some context, talk about the conditions that support energy efficiency improvement in Australia, and then put the ESCO opportunity in context and share some lessons learned and recommendations, with great humility, of course, because you have much experience here in Russia and around the world. So I hope it will be useful for you. So Australia, you can see here the breakdown in terms of our energy consumption is 8,844 petajoules. It's much from oil and coal. Our renewable sector is growing, and we're the 19th largest global consumer. Although we're not consuming as much as here in Russia and other countries around the world, electricity prices have doubled over 5 years, and we are looking at significant increases in gas prices as on the East Coast we begin to export. So we have a lot of energy in Australia, but because we are paying export market prices, it is very important for us to look closely at our energy efficiency. And here we look at energy consumption by sector, just to highlight the importance of the industrial sector. Certainly transport is large, manufacturing and so on is also quite large. And of recent times we've been particularly focused on looking at gas use as well as electricity use. We have great potential to improve energy productivity in Australia. That is the dollar per gross domestic product per megajoule of primary energy. You see, if we just kept doing what we're doing some good things. We can improve our energy productivity. But if we do things better with good policies and good capacity building and so on, we can almost double our energy productivity. This is very important. This is an economic opportunity well beyond just the energy savings, but it's also about reducing greenhouse gas emissions and sharing learning right across the economy. I'll talk briefly about one particular initiative. I believe here in Russia you're looking to introduce a mandatory scheme. In 2006 we introduced this Energy Efficiency Opportunities Act, which required the largest energy users to undertake energy efficiency assessments and to report publicly on the outcomes from those assessments. Both aspects are important. Understanding what the opportunities are is important so that you can act on those opportunities. The public reporting was important to raise the level of awareness up to the senior management and the board and to the public. So there is public pressure to say, why is this business not doing more than it could? And for those that are doing well, to say, hey, this is not just an energy efficient business, this is a well-managed business. This is a proxy for good business management. In the first 5 years, there are opportunities of over 164 petajoules. Annual net financial benefits of those savings that were implemented were over 800 million, and also was contributing 1.5% to Australia's total emissions. I want to put this in the carbon reduction context because we did introduce a carbon price in Australia just for 1 year, and it's since been taken back, but maybe in the future it will be introduced again. Energy efficiency, of course, is positive. You can reduce greenhouse gas emissions at a net positive. And here you see for different industry sectors, for example, in manufacturing, rather than paying a carbon price from the business, energy efficiency is delivering on average $60 in their pocket for these energy efficiency benefits. So really, energy efficiency first as an initiative is very important. Some lessons learned just quickly here, and I know these will be picked up by the other speakers, but energy auditing, those assessments, they need to be team-based. We found that the successful businesses didn't just have one engineer disconnected from the rest of the business, but it was an engineer talking, communicating, working across all the divisions and up to senior management. Very important. And comprehensive energy management systems. We didn't require the ISO 50001, which you'll hear about, but we did require that companies put in place good data management systems, good communication from management and policies about the importance of energy efficiency. So this is important. Energy champions are critical. If there is one thing that I've seen in the successful businesses, the contribution to success of a very passionate, skilled, great communicator, someone who can take on that champion role to really drive energy efficiency forward. We learnt that it has taken time to develop the knowledge, skills and capability within organisations and in the energy services sector to get results. So energy efficiency, as we're hearing here in Russia and from other countries, certainly in Australia, we're continuing to build capability and expertise. Doesn't just happen in 5 years or 10 years, it's something we are continuing to develop. And of course, at the most important aspect of this is actually implementing projects. And I'll move on to this in a moment, but different factors can influence this in the organisations in Australia. Their appetite for risk, their understanding and knowledge of the technical opportunities. Of course, the payback period, the financial aspects makes a difference. The requirements to actually spend capital. But this last one is particularly critical because we have found, even with good projects that are cost effective, that are low risk, sometimes if it's not a strategic priority at the site or at the corporate level, it may still not go ahead. So this takes me back to talking about the energy champions have been very successful in communicating energy efficiency, the benefits of saving energy, increasing productivity. This is a strategic priority and a benefit for the whole organisation, which is very important. In summary, I know there are different barriers that we talk about and different solutions. From my work and research and work with the Australian Government's Energy Efficiency Opportunities Program in an evaluation of that, it's really, here's one way of summing up the integrated policy approach that is essential. Information and motivation so that managers can act on opportunities. Skills and capacity to identify those opportunities. And of course, finance. But it's the red dot in the middle. We've found that you need all of these three things to be integrated at the policy level in terms of the policies, and it's great to hear the comprehensive policies you have in place here in Russia, at the policy level and within the organisation so that there's an integrated approach. Now, I'm just going to focus on the finance side and come to ESCO discussion around energy service companies and energy performance contracts, but I wanted to set that context. Whenever we talk finance now, we try and talk information and motivation and skills and capability at the same time, because finance in its own right typically is not enough necessarily. So it needs to be an integrated approach. We have a number of financing options in Australia, from the Emissions Reduction Fund, which is an auction process where the government purchases least cost greenhouse gas abatement. And in the second major auction, we're seeing a lot more energy efficiency programs come through. The Clean Energy Finance Corporation. This is like our green bank, which is helping address those projects which make sense, but which our financiers are not really confident in funding. So they are filling that little gap there as well. ARENA is the Australian Renewable Energy Agency. It's focused on renewable energy, but most recently, in workshops we held around Australia, we're looking at renewables in industrial processes, and in doing so, the number one message is energy efficiency first. You must understand your process, reduce your demands, and then you can look at renewables and how they can contribute. So, focused on renewables, but still coming back to energy efficiency first. The last two are some white certificate schemes that we have in place at the state level, the Energy Savings Scheme in New South Wales and the Victorian Energy Efficiency Target Scheme in Victoria, which is the state to the south of New South Wales. We have many options for financing, loans, leases and so on. And in this presentation I will have some links and you can see a great guide to the range of financing options that we have in Australia. And ESCOs, the energy performance contracting, is just one of those. And I think it's important to see it in the context. Like anything, these contracts, the use of ESCOs isn't a silver bullet in its own right, but it can play a very important role. And in 2000, the Australian government, working with industry, developed a guide to energy performance contracts. And still today, this is being used. So it's been a very good basis for capacity building and for promoting energy performance contracts and the work of ESCOs. What are the advantages? You'll hear more from the other speakers, but of course, with an energy performance contract, you can shift the technical risk to the energy service company. They understand energy efficiency well. It puts a focus on performance as designed, remaining within budget, and also it's so important because you have responsibility after the implementation of an energy efficiency measure. So you get better chances of maintaining and operating this equipment properly after installation, a great benefit. Projects can be funded out of cash flow rather than capital expenditure. So for companies who don't want another large loan on their balance sheet, this can be an excellent opportunity. Guaranteed savings, of course, and ESCOs bring specialist expertise. Summed up in this diagram, if you look, I think most important is the bottom line. Do nothing is costing an organisation money. So as well as promoting the benefits and the good practices, we should make sure companies understand what they're missing out on. It's not for everyone, so if the organisation isn't comfortable with a long-term contract or don't have the appetite for this new approach, or if their project is small or it's difficult to measure, then perhaps an energy performance contract isn't appropriate. But in the guide that was developed, it provides a very nice checklist so that companies can work out if it is the best approach to use. 5 steps, again, if you'd like to look at the guide, it shows these different steps. And I'll just pick up on the next slide, which highlights the importance of selecting your energy service company. And one important role that the government can play is in sharing projects and helping people understand the experience of the ESCOs themselves. So promoting them to the market is an important role for government. And also for the non-profit sector, our Energy Efficiency Council, also funded by government, can play an important role here. So the lessons learned in a snapshot, I thought I would pick up on some of the key things we've learnt in Australia. The importance of maintaining a business as well as energy focus. I've seen that when the focus becomes around the energy performance contract, it gets very legalistic and very focused on energy savings. It's important not to forget there are strategic benefits, there are productivity benefits, and these need to be maintained as part of the conversation. The second point there, support collaboration. As we are collaborating at an international level, it's important for government can help as those contracts are being developed, as they become very legalistic, to actually open it up and support partnering processes and co-design, getting together the organisations and the ESCOs and actually helping them get towards joint solutions that they can work on together. The third one is about standardisation and encouraging that. So the guide that I mentioned has standard contracts, saves time and effort, builds understanding and confidence. And also standardisation around measurement and verification methodologies. It's great to see the International Performance Measurement and Verification Protocol growing its interest around the world. Certainly in Australia we have done this, and it's a really good basis as we build capability to measure savings. And finally, to finish, we have heard the importance of skills, providing training opportunities on contractual arrangements as well as the technical side, on measurement and verification techniques. And it's important to educate not just the end users, not just the ESCOs themselves, but the financiers, so that they understand the great opportunity that ESCOs and energy performance contracts can present in driving benefits for business, benefits in terms of